Ben's drawing up for me there. Oh, look at that little kitty. Let me just get that in there. Oh man, how you feel about that?
Feel great. Little kitties.
Shave job. How do you feel about shaving a man you met on the street Friday night?
Okay.
Just okay?
Shaved weird things, I guess. You
I do have Italian legs.
know. You're pretty nice. Do you work out?
Only my legs, bro. First you shaved my thigh. Now you're putting deodorant on my thigh.
Deodorant stinks.
Oh.
Well, not deodorant stinks. Your thigh just.
My thigh and shaven enough?
No, like a symbol. That's what I meant.
Uh-oh. You just had it. It's in the tape. In the tape. Finish that little kitty's butt off. Telling tales out of class.
Anyway, Payne's Paul, rumor has it that when he was a Hell's Angel, and I know he was and is still-ish, you know, that's one of those things, because every time I come from Orlando, he makes me bring him an Angel Diner shirt, and they are red and white. So that may add truth to this little bit of information, but he used to sell people bikes, and then apparently roll by the next day on their bike and ask them how their bike was doing. And they would tell him how it had gotten stolen the night before. And he'd sell it to them to have the money, go back, have
on
drop
the bike,
off, steal their bike, rebuild it, and ride back over on their own bike the next day.
Ask him how the bike was doing.
Ask him how he's doing.
What a way to do business. Man, tell me a little bit about yourself first, I imagine.
Okay, I started tattooing in 1995 at Millennium Gallery in Fort Collins, Colorado. I have been in Florida for 10 years.
10 years. That's pretty much a veteran then.
Yeah.
You're a Floridian?
For a Floridian. I'm married into a 9th generation Florida family, so even though I'm from Montana, I can say I'm from the South.
Gotcha. The South is sticky.
Yeah, my heart lies in the South at least. I know that. So, let's see. So, from Fort Collins and learning how to tattoo, I went to Lafayette, Louisiana. I worked in Jackie Grisham's shop in Lafayette, Ancient Art, with Alan Irwin, who's a great guy to work with. That's where I learned in Fort Collins, but I think I really got broken in Louisiana and like really learned how to be a shop or street tattooer, if you will. From there I went to Seattle and kind of bounced around a little bit, and then I met Ernie Gosnell, who's a lot like my dad and the reason I'm called Little Joe now. And I worked with him for 3.5, 4 years in his Rainier Beach shop in Seattle. And that was really like great. Like I might have gotten my ass broken in Louisiana, but when I went to Seattle I really learned kind of, in my opinion, what makes a tattooer a tattooer. I mean, there's obviously like, you got to be able to draw, but there's a little bit of charisma that goes along with this business, I think, and Ernie really kind of taught me that, you know.
So Seattle's where you got your chops.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, he had a pool table in the shop and would come in and be like, you know, rack them, and if I was tattooing, it didn't matter. The only thing I could be doing that I didn't have to stop and shoot a game of pool when he walked in was painting, because he wouldn't interrupt me for that. But everything, and then I started to learn, like, man, it look like you paint when the fucker comes in if you don't want to shoot. You know, like, that took a minute. But it was really great, you know, I mean, it was $25 names. In Louisiana, I learned a bit from Alan about doing lettering. And when I actually moved to Seattle, I was kind of scared to ask Ernie for a job, because him and Jackie had kind of been in competition. He opened Electric Ladyland in New Orleans, and she owned Art Accent. So I was kind of like, oh man, like if he has any kind of like the feeling that they had, like there's no way they're gonna just chase me out of the shop. So I didn't have the nerve to ask him for a job. Met him at the Inkslingers ball. He kept taking naps behind our fucking booth, which is typical Ernie. And got to know him. It was really fun, man. So when I got back to Seattle, I quit where I was working and went to work with him. From there, I went to Atlanta for a little while. Atlanta wasn't my favorite place I've ever been. I don't, you know, like, I guess for lack of a better term, I'm more of a traditional tattooer, and Atlanta's very much a black and gray kind of town.
Gross.
Yeah, so unless you want to do portraits with your career, that wasn't the place to be.
Portraits of pit bulls and
people, and like this,
yeah,
you know,
people
that's a great part of tattooing, and it has its place, and the people who do it well. But I've always been more interested in just being a tattooer. You know what I mean? I'd rather be doing this design and 10 more like it than doing a portrait all night. Really worried about like, wow, man, what if they move and I fuck up a lip? Yeah.
So you started telling me a little bit about this design that I'm getting right now.
Yeah, this is Teddy Inman. He's from Augusta, Georgia. I believe he learned from his dad, Don, and or vice versa. It was either Don and then Teddy, or Teddy then Don, and so don't quote me on that. Yeah. But they were in Augusta, and I believe Eddie and Ann Peace were also there. And there were a couple great, I mean, it was a port town, military, so you had lots of great tattooers in and out. But I really love the way Teddy's kind of, you know, like you could just tell, like he developed a look over the years of the way he drew his tattoos. And he kind of stuck to his guns, and I really appreciate that aspect of being a tattooer, you know. We all kind of, there's a lot of repetition in this business, so to find a way to do that and do it your way is pretty neat, you know. And
definitely.
And Eddie and Ann probably were cleaner tattooers, but, you know, Teddy, whether it was from learning from Don or vice versa, you know, I think there was just a certain sense of, there was less family feel, you know. I think from what I've read and been told, you know, like Eddie and Ann, well, they were married, you know, working next to each other, tattooing sailors. There's some neat stories about them. But Don and Teddy Inman always appealed to me more, and it's, you know, the great thing about tattooing is it's, you know, American folk art. You know, it's a folk art wherever it is, but in America it's a folk art. And Teddy held down a port for a long time and drew all of his own flash. You go into his shop, everything is his. You didn't like it that way, we'll get the fuck on. You know, and he meant it, and I really appreciate that. And it's kind of the kind of tattoo shop I want to have, you know. Like, I don't want to chase people off, but if you don't belong, don't be alone.
Perfect.
That's Ernie. My whole idea with this tattoo shop is like the exact opposite of what you see on television right now.
Okay.
It might not be right, but I don't care if you smoke a cigarette or drink a beer while you get tattooed. I've worked in shops where that was not only acceptable, it was the norm. I believe there's a certain sterile chain of events that needs to be adhered to, but other than that, man, this business is pretty fucking nuts. So, that being said,
real talk.
I'd rather have a real tattoo shop that when you walk into, you know you're in a fucking tattoo shop, and it is a little bit kind of scary sometimes, and it doesn't, not scary in a health issue sort of way, but in a, man, you might not want to fuck with those cats kind of way, because that's the way it was when I started, and to me that was kind of the appeal at that point. Now it's very gentrified.
It's very Hollywood. They took all the balls out of it.
They did, and then put it on stars on a girl's face. It's pretty fucking shitty. But so my whole concept is to have a classic looking tattoo shop where if our dads walked into it, they'd feel just as like comfortable and like a shop, they knew they were in a tattoo shop, not in an art gallery slash place where people do tattoos, or I just don't want any mistakes or questions. Like, you walk in here, that's what we're doing.
You're tattooing.
That's the idea. Yeah,
that's
and
the
if I
idea.
have to stick to my guns, fine. I don't care. You know, like, short of fucking peanuts and sawdust on my floor, fuck off. You know, like.
Oh yeah.
So, you like to cry, and
I've cried before.
Like, man, feel emotional and write a good song, then that's fucking okay. That's art. So, there's a guy that does that well from Florida, South Florida, named Chris Carava. He's a goddamn Banana Republic model. I love you, Chris, but you are. And that's sensitive, right there. That's sensitive. Anyhow, Chris is great, man. He invited me to go on tour here in Orlando. Went on tour with him. Had a cab come pick me up with my machines. Took me to House of Blues. We left here, got to Atlanta the morning after. Talked about what we were going to do. Big tribal cover-up, crazy shit. And he not only got tattooed, but he got tattooed and he had a rough experience with it. Chris, passed out. Didn't have a good time. But I tried to let him off the hook and say, man, we'll tattoo you the next day after, you know, I'm on tour with you, it doesn't matter. Well, you know, just settle in, like, it's fucking a big tattoo. Big Panther Lotus cover-up thing. You gotta have some black to cover tribal. And, so, Chris goes and he's like, alright, cool, man. And he goes and does his thing and he's doing voice checks the whole time I'm tattooing him and then apologizing, and it was great. I was like, man, you know how to sing, it's cool. Goes out, does a meet and greet in Atlanta, for Christ's sake, and then does sound check, comes back and he's like, fuck it, just do this motherfucker. And gets tattooed for 2 more hours on a tattoo that he didn't have fun with it, and finished it up, went out and did the whole show, and I shit you not, like, if you ever watch Chris perform, his hands are up all the time. I mean, Chris, again, I love you, but you know you're little. You know? So your hands are up all the time, motherfucker, but not that night. That night,
one hand up.
Like that.
And the moral of the story, Chris Caraba, bad motherfucker.
Bad motherfucker, dude.
Yes.
It takes sensitivity to know how to fucking be a tough guy. That's
Respect.
Chris Caraba.
Word.
Right there.
Driving through fucking cones like a champ. I can handle this. I can handle this, RV. Oh, incoming traffic. Go. Oh, shit. Oh, no, we got this. Oh, I think I got one.